The morning sun streamed through the blinds of Mei Chen's small office at Westridge University. Papers covered every surface, filled with complex equations and notes from her advanced mathematics classes. In the corner, partially hidden behind a stack of textbooks, sat a worn wooden chess set. Mei sipped her tea and gazed at the chess pieces. They were old friends, more reliable than most people in her life. At 32, she had earned respect in academic circles for her brilliant mind, but few knew about her other passion. Chess had been her secret companion since she was 6 years old, when her grandfather first taught her to play. Professor Chen, a knock at the door made her jump, nearly spilling her tea. "Come in," she said quietly, adjusting her glasses and tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. Her department assistant, Raj, poked his head in. "Sorry to bother you, but Dean Thompson is asking for you. Says it's important." Mei felt her stomach tighten. She hated unexpected meetings. "Did he say what it's about?" "Something about the charity event this weekend. He seemed pretty worked up." She sighed and nodded. "I'll go now. Thank you." As she walked across campus, students hurried past. Mei kept her eyes down, avoiding small talk. It wasn't that she disliked people. She just never knew the right things to say. Numbers made sense. Chess made sense. People were puzzles she couldn't solve. The dean's office was bustling with activity when she arrived. Through the glass door she could see Dean Thompson pacing, his face flushed. "Ah, Professor Chen," he called when she entered. "Thank goodness. We have a situation. Is everything okay?" she asked, standing awkwardly near the doorway. "The charity exhibition this weekend, the chess match. Our player has food poisoning. Doctor says there's no way he can participate." The dean ran a hand through his thinning hair. "The event's sold out. Major donors coming, and Viktor Petrov is already here from Europe." Mei froze at the name. Viktor Petrov. Everyone in the chess world knew him. The Russian Grandmaster with 5 international championships. Famous for his brilliant play and infamous for his psychological tactics. "I need someone to step in," Dean Thompson continued. "And rumor has it you play chess." I play a little," Mei stammered. "But I can't possibly—" "Please, Mei, it's for the Children's Hospital Fund. We've raised nearly $200,000 in ticket sales and donations. If we cancel now—" He let the sentence hang. "But surely there's someone else, a chess club member or—" "We've tried everyone. The exhibition is tomorrow night." Mei felt trapped. Her heart pounded. Play against Viktor Petrov? In front of hundreds of people? The very thought made her hands shake. "I'm not good enough," she whispered. The dean looked desperate. "You don't have to win, just make it interesting. Give people a show. Please, Mei." She thought of the children's hospital, of her grandfather who had passed away there years ago, the kind nurses who had cared for him. She took a deep breath. "Okay," she said so quietly the dean had to lean forward. "I'll do it. Wonderful." Relief washed over his face. "There's a reception tonight where you'll meet Petrov. Black tie. University Hall at 7. Black tie. Meeting people?" This was getting worse by the minute. Back in her office, Mei closed the door and leaned against it, heart racing. What had she agreed to? She hadn't played a public match in 15 years. Not since that disastrous tournament in high school, where she'd frozen under pressure and knocked over her water, ruining the board. She sat down at her computer and pulled up Chess Masters online. Few people knew that Phoenix Rising, we ranked 5th in the world on the site, was actually Professor Mei Chen, who could barely order coffee without stuttering. Online, she was fearless. Online, no one saw her hands shake or heard her voice crack. Online, only the moves mattered. She typed Viktor Petrov's name into the search bar and spent the next hour studying his recent matches. His style was aggressive, flashy. He liked to sacrifice pieces for position, putting psychological pressure on opponents. But there were patterns in his play, weaknesses he covered with confidence. At 6:30, Mei stood in front of her bathroom mirror in a simple black dress she'd worn once to a faculty dinner. Her hair was pulled back, her makeup minimal. She barely recognized herself. "Just breathe," she whispered to her reflection. "It's just one game." University Hall glittered with lights when she arrived. Men in suits and women in evening gowns mingled, champagne glasses in hand. Mei slipped in quietly, hoping to remain unnoticed. "Professor Chen." The dean's booming voice made several heads turn. "Come meet our guest of honor." All eyes shifted to her as the dean guided her across the room. In the center of an admiring circle stood Viktor Petrov, tall and imposing in a perfectly tailored suit. His dark hair was touched with gray at the temples, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes played on his lips as he charmed the crowd. "Grandmaster Petrov," the dean interrupted. "May I present Professor Mei Chen? She'll be your opponent tomorrow." Petrov turned, his piercing blue eyes scanning Mei from head to toe. She felt herself shrink under his gaze. "Professor of," he asked, his Russian accent thick. "Mathematics," Mei answered softly, eyes on the floor. "Ah." His tone held amusement. "And chess is your hobby?" The way he said hobby made it clear what he thought of amateur players. "I play sometimes," she managed. Petrov chuckled and turned to the crowd. "In Russia, we begin training grandmasters at age 4. But I'm sure the professor will try her best." Laughter rippled through the group. Mei's cheeks burned. "Perhaps I can give you some advice," Petrov continued, turning back to her. "The key to chess is thinking ahead. Each move should set up the next 3. Mei bit her lip. She'd been calculating 12 moves ahead since she was 10. "Thank you," she said quietly. "And try not to be intimidated by the crowd. Stage fright is the enemy of clear thinking." He smiled condescendingly. "We want to give them a good show, yes?" "Yes," Mei agreed, still looking down. "Well then." The dean clapped his hands together. "Drink, eat, enjoy the evening." Petrov immediately turned to a university donor, dismissing Mei completely. She retreated to a quiet corner, watching the famous Grandmaster work the room. He was charming, confident, and utterly arrogant. Her phone buzzed with a text from Raj. "You okay? Need rescue?" She smiled at his thoughtfulness. "I'm fine." Learning about my opponent, and she was. Every gesture, every laugh, every dismissive wave of Petrov's hand told her something about him. He underestimated her completely. Maybe that could be an advantage. Later that night, Mei sat cross-legged on her living room floor, her old chess set before her. She moved pieces silently, playing out scenarios, preparing defenses against Petrov's favorite attacks. When her eyes grew heavy, she crawled into bed. But sleep wouldn't come. Her mind kept replaying Petrov's smug smile, the laughter of the crowd. But beneath her anxiety, something else stirred, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, the thrill of the game. In her dreams, chess pieces moved across infinite boards, and in every scenario, the phoenix rose from the ashes, triumphant. Morning came too quickly. Mei went through her day in a daze, canceling her office hours to prepare. By late afternoon, she'd reviewed 20 of Petrov's championship matches and identified key patterns. As evening approached, she changed into simple black pants and a blue blouse. No flashy jewelry or distractions. Tonight wasn't about appearances. The university auditorium was packed when she arrived. Television cameras stood ready, local news covering the charity event. On stage, a single table with 2 chairs and a chessboard waited under bright lights. Backstage, Mei paced in a small room, her heart hammering. What had she been thinking? She couldn't do this. Not with all those people watching. A production assistant poked her head in. 5 minutes, Professor Chen. Mei nodded, unable to speak. She closed her eyes and pictured her grandfather's gentle smile as he taught her the game. Chess isn't about winning or losing, he told her. It's about finding the beauty in possibilities. She took a deep breath and walked toward the stage. Whatever happened next, she would find the beauty in the game. As the announcer called her name, the crowd applauded politely. Across the stage, Viktor Petrov strode forward confidently, waving to his fans. Their eyes met briefly as they took their seats. "Good luck, Professor," he said with a smile that suggested she'd need much more than luck. Mei nodded silently and turned her attention to the board between them. The pieces were set. The game was about to begin, and despite everything deep inside, the phoenix stirred. The lights of the auditorium felt like small suns beating down on Mei. She could feel sweat forming on her back as hundreds of eyes watched her. Opposite her, Viktor Petrov lounged in his chair, looking more like he was at a casual dinner party than a chess match. His confidence radiated across the board. "White moves first," the referee announced, nodding to Petrov. "Best of 3 games. First game begins now." Petrov smiled at the crowd before moving his king's pawn forward 2 spaces, the most common opening in chess. A safe standard choice. The clock ticked as he hit the timer. Mei stared at the board, trying to slow her breathing. Her hand trembled slightly as she mirrored his move. Simple, predictable. Petrov raised an eyebrow and moved quickly again. Knight to f3. Another textbook move. For the next few minutes, they traded conventional opening moves. May kept her eyes down, focusing only on the 64 squares before her. The audience's murmurs faded into background noise. By move 7, Petrov began playing faster, barely glancing at the board. He leaned back, scanning the crowd, nodding to admirers. When May took longer than 30 seconds to consider a move, he sighed loudly. "Perhaps we should have set a time limit," he said, loud enough for the front rows to hear. A ripple of laughter spread through the audience. May didn't respond. She was used to being underestimated. On move 10, Petrov made his first aggressive push, sacrificing a pawn to open a line of attack on her kingside. It was a trademark Petrov move, creating chaos and pressure. The audience murmured with appreciation. The commentator, speaking quietly at a table to the side for the live stream, noted the bold choice. "A classic Petrov gambit," he whispered into his microphone. "He's setting up for a kingside assault." Professor Chen looks worried. May wasn't worried. She was calculating. Petrov's move was flashy but fundamentally unsound. She'd seen him use this exact approach in the Prague Open last year. It worked because his opponent panicked. May accepted the sacrifice, taking his pawn. Petrov immediately moved his knight to an aggressive position, threatening her queen. His hand hit the clock with a flourish. The audience gasped. The trap was sprung, except it wasn't a trap to May. It was an opportunity. Instead of retreating her queen as Petrov clearly expected, she moved her bishop to pin his knight against his king. It was a subtle move, not immediately threatening, but it restricted his options significantly. For the first time, Petrov's smile faltered. He stared at the board for nearly a minute before moving again. The next few moves happened rapidly. Petrov launched into a complicated attack sequence, moving pieces with theatrical flair. He was playing to the crowd, showing off his famous creativity. May responded with quiet, precise moves. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was building a fortress, piece by patient piece. By move 16, a strange tension had settled over the room. Chess enthusiasts in the audience had stopped chatting. The commentator's voice had grown more serious. Something unexpected was happening on the board. Petrov's attack had stalled. His pieces, while aggressively placed, had no clear path forward. May's position was solid, defensive, but with hidden threats emerging. Petrov leaned forward now, really studying the board. The show was over. This was no longer an exhibition match against an amateur. His brow furrowed as he contemplated his next move. "Fascinating development," the commentator whispered. "Grandmaster Petrov seems to be in a more complex position than anticipated." May could feel a change in the room's energy. She risked a glance up and caught Petrov staring at her, really seeing her for the first time. His eyes were narrowed, calculating. She quickly looked down again. On move 20, Petrov made a crucial decision. Rather than continue his increasingly stalled attack, he opted to trade queens, typically a move toward simplification and a draw. He reached forward, captured her queen with his, and sat back, offering a small smile to the crowd. The smile disappeared when May didn't immediately recapture his queen. Instead, she moved her knight to threaten both his rook and create a discovered attack on his king. A hushed "oh" swept through the audience. Petrov's face flushed. He was forced to move his king, abandoning his queen. When May took the powerful piece on her next move, the point advantage swung dramatically in her favor. "Extraordinary," the commentator forgot to whisper. The professor just outmaneuvered the Grandmaster in a complex tactical sequence. Petrov was no longer playing for the crowd. His shoulders hunched as he leaned over the board, fingers pressed to his temples. For the next 10 minutes, he fought desperately, trying to create counterplay with his remaining pieces. May stayed calm, trading material when advantageous, keeping the pressure on his exposed king. Her heart still raced, but now it was from the familiar thrill of the game, not from stage fright. On move 32, Petrov made a last desperate attempt, sacrificing his rook for an attack that would have been brilliant against a lesser player. May calmly dismantled it step by step. 3 moves later, Petrov's position was hopeless. His king was trapped in a corner, her pieces controlling every escape route. The Grandmaster stared at the board for a long moment. Then with a sharp exhale, he tipped over his king, the universal sign of resignation. "I concede this game," he said quietly. The auditorium was silent for 3 heartbeats. Then a wave of applause broke out, growing louder as the audience realized they had just witnessed something remarkable. May sat perfectly still, hardly believing what had just happened. She'd beaten Viktor Petrov, in front of hundreds of people. "Congratulations, Professor," Petrov said, extending his hand across the board. His tone was different now, respectful with a hint of confusion. "That was unexpected." She shook his hand briefly, her eyes still downcast. "Thank you for the game," she murmured. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. "Professor Chen wins the first game. We'll take a 15-minute intermission before Game 2. Cameras flashed. People stood, talking excitedly. Mei slipped quickly backstage, needing a moment alone. In a quiet corner, she leaned against the wall, eyes closed, letting her heartbeat return to normal. A small smile crept across her face. For years, she'd played only online, hiding behind a screen name. But there was something powerful about sitting across from an opponent, seeing recognition dawn in their eyes when they realized they'd underestimated you. "Professor Chen?" It was Raj holding out a bottle of water. "That was amazing. The look on Petrov's face when you didn't take his queen." "Thanks," she said, accepting the water. "It's just one game, though. Are you kidding? Nobody beats Petrov in rapid chess, nobody." Before she could respond, Dean Thompson burst in, beaming. "May, my goodness. You said you played a little. That was extraordinary." She shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "He wasn't taking me seriously. That won't happen again. Reporters are asking for interviews." "The local news, no interviews," she said firmly. "Please." The dean looked disappointed but nodded. "As you wish. But people are talking. The hospital fundraiser just got a lot more exciting." When May returned to the stage, the atmosphere had changed entirely. The audience, which had been casually attentive before, now leaned forward in their seats. Petrov was already there, studying the newly reset board with intense concentration. As she sat down, he looked up. "You've been hiding your skill, Professor," he said quietly. "I don't play in public much," she replied. "Clearly you should. Your tactical vision is remarkable." His eyes narrowed. "Have we played online, perhaps?" May's heart jumped. Had he figured out she was Phoenix Rising? "I don't think so," she lied, adjusting her glasses. Petrov studied her face for a moment longer before turning his attention to the board. "Game 2. You have white." This time there was no theatrics, no playing to the crowd. From the first move, Petrov was fully engaged, treating her as a worthy opponent. May opened with the Queen's Gambit, a solid, strategic choice. Petrov declined the gambit, setting up a closed position. The game would be about maneuvering, long-term planning, and patience. A completely different challenge from the tactical fireworks of the first game. For the next hour, they battled in near silence. The moves came more slowly now, each player taking time to think several moves ahead. The commentator kept his analysis technical and respectful. "Two high-level players at their best," he said to the live-stream audience. "What began as an exhibition has turned into a genuine contest." The position remained balanced, complex. May felt herself fully immersed in the game, forgetting the audience entirely. This was chess at its purest, a dialogue of ideas across the board. As they approached the endgame, with fewer pieces but increasing complexity, Petrov showed why he was a world champion. His piece coordination was masterful, his understanding of subtle positional advantages profound. After a long struggle, May saw the inevitable 3 moves ahead. Her king would be forced to retreat, giving up key squares. From there, Petrov's passed pawn would promote to a queen. She looked up, meeting his eyes directly for the first time. She saw no arrogance there now, only intense focus and perhaps a hint of respect. "I resign," she said quietly. Petrov nodded, the slightest smile touching his lips. "An excellent game, Professor." The audience applauded enthusiastically. The score was tied 1-1. "Final game in 15 minutes, the announcer called. As May stood, Petrov remained seated, looking up at her with new interest. "Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked. She hesitated, then answered honestly. "My grandfather taught me the moves. The rest I learned from books, computers, watching games like yours." He nodded slowly. "You have a natural gift. But there's something familiar about your style." He shook his head. "No matter. One more game, Professor. Everything to play for." As May walked backstage, she felt a strange new sensation replacing her usual anxiety. Excitement. For the deciding game, she wouldn't hold back. Not anymore. The 15-minute break felt both too short and impossibly long. May splashed cold water on her face in the small backstage bathroom, watching droplets fall from her chin. In the mirror, her eyes looked different somehow, brighter, more focused. She wasn't just surviving this experience anymore. She was embracing it. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. 5 minutes, Professor, called a staff member. May dried her face and took a deep breath. One more game, the deciding game. When she returned to the stage, the energy in the auditorium had transformed completely. What had begun as a casual charity exhibition was now a serious chess battle that had captured everyone's attention. People who had been checking their phones during the first game now leaned forward in their seats, programs open to follow along with the notation. Viktor Petrov was already seated, eyes fixed on the chessboard. He didn't look up when May sat down. His earlier showmanship had vanished, replaced by intense concentration. The score stands at 1 game each, the announcer said. For the final game, Professor Chen will play black. May the best player win. Petrov looked up now, meeting May's gaze. Good luck, Professor, he said simply. You too, she replied, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. The referee nodded, and Petrov made his opening move. Pawn to e4, the king's pawn opening, the most aggressive starting move in chess. A direct challenge. May responded with the Sicilian defense, pawn to c5, also aggressive, signaling her willingness to enter complex tactical battles rather than take a safer approach. A slight smile touched Petrov's lips. He recognized the message she was sending. No more hiding. The opening moves came quickly as both players worked through familiar patterns. By move 6, they had veered away from the most common variations into a complex middle game. Every choice now would matter. In the audience, Dean Thompson whispered to a board member, "Is she doing well?" "I can't tell." A chess club student nearby leaned over. "It's completely balanced. But they're heading into crazy complications, like watching 2 tightrope walkers decide to juggle while crossing the wire." On the 10th move, Petrov made a surprising choice, offering a piece sacrifice that would open lines of attack toward May's king. It was a double-edged sword. If his attack succeeded, he would win brilliantly. If it failed, he would be left with too little material to survive. The audience murmured as they recognized the boldness of his play. The commentator's voice rose with excitement. Grandmaster Petrov throws gasoline on the fire. This is no longer about winning. This is about making a statement. He's challenging Professor Chen. Can you navigate these complications? May stared at the position, calculating the branching possibilities. She could decline the sacrifice, leading to a safer position, or she could accept it, plunging into tactical chaos. She thought of all those late nights playing online as Phoenix rising, fearlessly taking on the world's best. Why had she been hiding her gift for so long? Her hand reached out, accepting the sacrifice. The audience gasped. "Incredible," the commentator exclaimed. "She's accepting the challenge. We're going to see fireworks now." For the next 20 minutes, the game exploded with tactical possibilities. Petrov launched a ferocious attack, his pieces coordinating beautifully as they closed in around May's king. But May defended with precision, finding the narrow path through danger, setting small traps of her own along the way. Petrov's confidence began to show cracks as his attack failed to break through. He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture May recognized from videos of his most challenging championship matches. On move 23, May spotted an opportunity. Rather than continue defending, she launched a counterattack on the opposite side of the board. It was risky. With her king still under pressure, diverting resources to attack could be fatal if she miscalculated. Astonishing. The commentator's voice cracked with excitement. Professor Chen is counterattacking while still under fire. This is high-wire chess at its finest. Petrov's eyes widened as he recognized the danger. Now he was the one forced to decide. Continue his attack or defend against hers. He chose to press his attack, moving his queen to a threatening square. Check May calmly interposed a knight, blocking the check and simultaneously threatening Petrov's rook. For the next few moves, they traded blows like boxers in the final round. neither willing to retreat. The position grew so complex that even the commentator fell silent, unable to keep up with the tactical implications. The audience watched in stunned silence as the two players moved quickly now, fully immersed in the battle, both playing on instinct and calculation. On move 30, May made her decisive move. She sacrificed her queen, the most powerful piece on the board, up for 2 rooks. It wasn't a material advantage, but it completely changed the nature of the position. Petrov froze, staring at the board in disbelief. This wasn't just any queen sacrifice. It transformed the position from a tactical shootout to a strategic grind, the type of position that required patience and precision, where his attacking style would be less effective. He took the queen, of course. You don't refuse such material. But as May's rook slid into dominating positions, controlling open files and pinning his pieces, his expression changed from surprise to grudging admiration. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he fought to find counterplay. The minutes ticked by. The position grew clearer with each move. May's rooks dominated the board, her minor pieces perfectly placed to support them. Petrov's extra queen couldn't find targets to attack. After 45 tense moves, they reached an endgame where the outcome was becoming clear. May's pawns advanced steadily toward promotion, while Petrov's king was cut off, unable to stop them. 5 moves later, Petrov saw the inevitable. In 3 more moves, May would promote a pawn to a new queen and his position would collapse. He studied the board one last time, checking for any missed resources. Finding none, he extended his hand across the board. "I resign," he said, loud enough for the front rows to hear. "Excellent play, Professor." The audience erupted in applause. Many stood clapping enthusiastically. They had witnessed something special. Not just a victory, but a display of chess artistry. May shook his hand, a small smile on her lips. "Thank you for the games," she said. "The pleasure was mine," Petrov replied, and seemed to mean it. "Though I confess I underestimated you greatly." As the applause continued, the announcer came forward with a small trophy, a glass chess piece that caught the stage lights. "Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of our charity exhibition, Professor May Chen." Cameras flashed as the dean rushed forward to present the trophy. May accepted it awkwardly, unused to being the center of attention. "A few words for our audience," the announcer suggested, holding out a microphone. May hesitated, her old shyness threatening to return, but something had changed inside her. Taking a deep breath, she leaned toward the microphone. "Thank you all for supporting the Children's Hospital," she said softly. "Chess has given me so much joy through my life. I'm happy I could share some of that joy tonight." More applause followed as she stepped back. The dean beamed, already calculating how much additional donation money this unexpected drama would generate. As the crowd began to disperse, Petrov approached May again. "Professor Chen," he said, his voice low enough that only she could hear, "I have a question that has been bothering me since our first game." May looked up, questioning. "Your play?" He hesitated. "It reminds me very much of an online player, someone known only as Phoenix Rising." May's heart jumped. She considered denying it, but something in his expression stopped her. That's me," she admitted. Petrov's eyes widened. "I suspected as much. I've studied your games, you know. Many Grandmasters have. We've wondered who was behind the screen name." "Just a math professor who gets nervous around people," she said with a small shrug. He laughed quietly. "Not just any math professor. You have a beautiful mind for chess, Professor. Why have you never played in tournaments?" May thought about all the years she'd spent hiding her talent, playing only in the safety of anonymous online games. "I don't do well with attention," she said simply. "A pity. The chess world is poorer without your participation." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. "I'm directing an international tournament in London next spring. I would be honored if you would consider competing." May stared at the card, memories of her teenage tournament disaster flashing through her mind. But that was long ago. Tonight had shown her something important, that she was stronger than her fears. "I'll think about it," she said, taking the card. Petrov smiled. "That's all I ask." He gave a small bow. "Until we play again, Professor." As he walked away, May felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For years she had believed her anxiety defined her limits. Tonight had proven otherwise. Raj approached, grinning widely. "Professor, you're trending on social media." The university's donation page has crashed from too much traffic. You're a hero, May smiled, turning the glass trophy in her hands, watching how it caught the light. Not a hero, she said quietly. Just someone who remembered who she really is. Outside the auditorium, a gentle rain had begun to fall. May stepped out, letting the cool drops touch her face. Tomorrow would bring challenges, reporters, attention, questions. But tonight, for the first time in years, she felt completely at peace with herself. The phoenix had risen indeed. The morning after the chess exhibition, May woke to her phone buzzing non-stop. 23 missed calls, dozens of text messages, and her email inbox overflowing. She put the phone down without reading any of them and made herself a cup of tea, trying to process everything that had happened. Last night's victory felt like a dream. Had she really beaten Viktor Petrov, the world champion, in front of hundreds of people? Had she really admitted to being Phoenix Rising? The mysterious online player who had become something of a legend in chess forums? A knock at her apartment door startled her out of these thoughts. Professor Chen, Raj's voice called through the door. Are you there? It's crazy out here. May opened the door to find her department assistant looking frazzled. What's happening? She asked. What's happening? Raj repeated with a laugh. Only that you're the biggest news on campus. There are reporters outside the math building. The dean's office has been fielding calls since dawn. Chess websites are going nuts. He handed her a tablet showing a chess news site. The headline read, Mystery Genius Defeats World Champion, Who is Professor May Chen? Below that was a blurry photo of her accepting the trophy and a second headline. Revealed, Phoenix Rising Identity Confirmed. May's stomach tightened. This is too much, she whispered. The dean wants you to do a press conference, Raj continued. The university's public relations team is, No, May said firmly, surprising herself with her decisiveness. No press conferences. Raj's excitement dimmed. But don't you see? This is huge. I need time, she said, cutting him off again. Please tell the dean I'm taking a few personal days. Raj looked disappointed but nodded. Okay, what should I tell the reporters? May thought for a moment. Tell them Professor Chen respectfully declines all interviews at this time. After Raj left, May sat by her window, watching raindrops race down the glass. Her whole life she'd avoided attention, finding comfort in anonymity. Now that comfort had been stripped away. She picked up Petrov's business card from her coffee table. The international tournament in London. Just thinking about it made her heart race, and not entirely from anxiety. Her phone buzzed again. This time she glanced at the screen. It was a number she didn't recognize with a Russian country code. Without giving herself time to reconsider, she answered. Professor Chen, Viktor Petrov's accented voice came through. I hope I'm not calling too early. No, it's fine, she said, surprised at his call. I wanted to apologize, he said directly. For what? For mentioning your identity as Phoenix Rising. I didn't realize a reporter was nearby. It's all over the chess news now, May sighed. It's okay. It would have come out eventually. Perhaps, Petrov agreed. But it should have been your choice when and how. There was a pause, then he continued. I've been analyzing our games. Your queen's sacrifice in the final game, it was brilliant. Not just technically sound, but psychologically perfect. You read me like a book. Despite everything, May smiled. You weren't the only one studying opponents before our match. Petrov laughed. Clearly. Tell me, why have you hidden your talent all these years? You could have been a Grandmaster long ago. May walked to her chess set, touching the white queen gently. It's complicated. I had a bad experience in a tournament when I was young. After that, I found it easier to play anonymously online. And now that the chess world knows who you are? She didn't answer immediately, considering the question. I don't know yet. Well, my invitation stands. The London tournament. Think about it. His tone softened. Sometimes, Professor Chen, our greatest opponent is our own fear. After saying goodbye, May sat with his words. Her greatest opponent was indeed her fear, had been all her life. But for one night she had overcome it. Could she do it again? 3 days later, May returned to campus. She had ignored most of the messages and declined all interview requests. But she couldn't hide forever. She had classes to teach, research to oversee. As she approached the mathematics building, a small group of students waited outside. She recognized them from the university chess club. Professor Chen, A young woman stepped forward. "We just wanted to say, you were amazing at the exhibition." "Thank you," May said quietly, adjusting her glasses. "We were wondering," another student began hesitantly, "would you consider giving some pointers to the chess club sometime? Not a formal thing, just maybe play a few games with us?" Before her match with Petrov, May would have politely declined. Teaching higher mathematics to graduate students was one thing. That was her job. But sharing her private passion with others? That would have been unthinkable. Now something had changed. "I'd like that," she heard herself say. "Maybe next week?" The students' faces lit up with surprise and excitement. As May continued to her office, she felt lighter somehow. The campus hadn't changed, the same buildings, the same paths, but her place within it had shifted. Dean Thompson was waiting outside her office door. "May, finally," he exclaimed. "You've become quite elusive. The phones haven't stopped ringing." "I'm sorry about that," she said, unlocking her door. "It's been overwhelming." The dean followed her in. "Well, you should be overwhelmed, in a good way. Do you know how much we raised for the children's hospital? Triple our original goal. Your match with Petrov went viral in chess circles." May set down her bag. "That's wonderful about the hospital. And that's not all," the dean continued, too excited to notice her reserve. "We've received calls from chess federations, tournament organizers, even a book publisher. Everyone wants to know more about the math professor who defeated the world champion. I won the match, Dean Thompson. I didn't defeat the world champion. It was just an exhibition. Details." He waved dismissively. "The point is, this is tremendous publicity for the university. The board is thrilled, which brings me to my proposal." May sighed internally. "Here it comes. We'd like to establish a chess program here. Nothing too elaborate at first, just regular exhibitions, maybe some classes. With you as the faculty advisor, of course." May blinked in surprise. She had expected pressure for interviews, press conferences, promotional appearances. Not this. A chess program? Exactly. Think about it. Combining mathematics and chess. The logical connections are perfect. It would attract a whole new type of student. May found herself considering it. Teaching chess. Sharing the beauty and complexity of the game she loved. Not as a performer or celebrity, but as a teacher. That was something she understood. "I'll think about it," she promised. After the dean left, May turned to her computer and hesitantly typed May Chen Chess into a search engine. Thousands of results appeared instantly. Chess blogs analyzing her games move by move. Articles speculating about her background. Forums debating whether her win over Petrov was luck or genius. One headline caught her eye. "The Reclusive Queen. Why May Chen's Story Matters." Curious. She clicked on it. The article was thoughtful, discussing how the chess world had long been dominated by a certain type of personality. Bold, confident, often brash. How May represented something different. Quiet brilliance that didn't need to announce itself. The writer argued that her story might inspire others who didn't fit the traditional mold. Perhaps, the article concluded, Professor Chen will show us that there are many paths to excellence, not all of them paved with confidence and showmanship. May sat back, letting the words sink in. She had never thought of herself as an inspiration. She had simply been trying to survive in a world that often seemed too loud, too fast, too overwhelming. But what if her journey could help others? What if by stepping out of her comfort zone, she could create space for other quiet souls with hidden talents? She opened her email and began typing, "Dear Dean Thompson, after consideration, I'm interested in discussing the chess program further." After sending the email, she picked up Petrov's business card again. The London tournament was 6 months away. Enough time to prepare not just her chess skills, but herself. She took out her phone and typed a message. "Dear Mr. Petrov, this is May Chen. Regarding your invitation to the London tournament, I would like to accept." Her finger hovered over the send button. Was she ready for this? For the attention, the pressure, the scrutiny? No, she wasn't, not completely. But perhaps no one ever felt entirely ready for their biggest challenges. She pressed send. That evening, May walked across campus as the sun was setting. Students hurried past, wrapped up in their own lives, most unaware of the quiet professor's recent fame in the chess world. Near the science building, she noticed a small group gathered around an outdoor chess table. 2 students were playing while others watched, laughing and suggesting moves. Without planning to, May drifted closer. Professor Chen, one of the watchers noticed her. Would you like to join us? A month ago, even a week ago, she would have politely declined and hurried away. But today, May smiled and stepped forward. I'd love to, she said. As she sat down at the chess table, surrounded by curious students, May felt a sense of coming home, not to a place but to herself, to the person she had always been beneath the shyness and fear. The student across from her set up the pieces with nervous excitement. I'm going to lose horribly, aren't I? He joked. May laughed, a real laugh that surprised even her. Probably, she admitted, but you'll learn something along the way. As did I, she thought, making her first move. As did I. 6 months had passed since the exhibition match with Petrov. 6 months of change that May could never have predicted. The university chess program had started small, just a weekly club meeting in an unused classroom. But word spread quickly. Students from other departments started showing up, then faculty members, then people from the community. Soon they had to move to a larger space to accommodate everyone. May found, to her surprise, that she enjoyed teaching chess almost as much as playing it. There was something deeply satisfying about watching a beginner's face light up when they finally understood a complex concept, or executed their first successful combination. Professor, can you show us that queen sacrifice from your match again? Asked Lee, an engineering student who had become one of her most dedicated pupils. Which one? The second game or the third? May asked, setting up the board. The third game, the one that made Grandmaster Petrov's jaw drop. May smiled at the memory. It wasn't as spectacular as everyone thinks. It was actually quite logical if you calculated 10 moves ahead. Only you would say calculating 10 moves ahead is quite logical. Lee laughed as May demonstrated the sequence. She noticed how much easier it had become to speak in front of groups. She still wasn't naturally outgoing, never would be. But the paralyzing anxiety that once gripped her had faded to a manageable background hum. After the club meeting, May returned to her office to find Dean Thompson waiting. There you are, he beamed. Just the person I wanted to see. The board approved your proposal. May's eyes widened. Already? That was fast. It's been in committee for 2 months. He handed her a folder. Congratulations, May. Starting next semester, Westridge University will officially offer a special topics course, Mathematical Principles of Chess Strategy. With you as the instructor. Of course, May accepted the folder, feeling a rush of excitement mixed with nervousness. A real course, not just a club. Another step on this unexpected path. Thank you, she said. I'll start preparing the syllabus right away. Excellent. And how's the tournament preparation going? London's just a few weeks away, right? May nodded. The International Chess Federation tournament in London, her first professional chess competition in 15 years. Her stomach tightened at the thought. I've been studying, she said simply. What she didn't mention was the hours spent analyzing games late into the night, the online matches against top-ranked players, the occasional video calls with Petrov himself, who had generously offered to help her prepare. The truth was, she had thrown herself into chess with an intensity that surprised even her. It wasn't just about the upcoming tournament anymore. It was about embracing a part of herself she had hidden away for too long. That evening, May sat cross-legged on her living room floor, chess pieces spread before her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Raj. Tickets booked. London, here we come. May smiled. Raj had appointed himself her unofficial manager, handling logistics so she could focus on chess. Several other faculty members and students had also decided to make the trip to support her. She turned her attention back to the position she was studying, a complex middle game from one of Bobby Fischer's famous matches. The doorbell interrupted her concentration. Opening the door, she found a courier with a package. Delivery for Professor Chen. Inside was a sleek wooden chess box with a note, a proper set for a proper Grandmaster. See you in London. Victor. The pieces inside were beautifully crafted, weighted perfectly. May ran her fingers over the smooth wood, touched by the gesture. Viktor Petrov had proven to be full of surprises. After their match, instead of dismissing her or feeling threatened by her talent, he had become her most vocal supporter in the chess world. His endorsement had opened doors that might otherwise have remained closed to an unknown player, regardless of her online reputation as Phoenix Rising. Their friendship had developed gradually through email exchanges and occasional video calls to discuss chess theory. Petrov had even visited the university once to give a guest lecture for her chess club, an event that had packed the largest auditorium on campus. The chess world, May was learning, could be both cutthroat and incredibly supportive. 3 weeks later, May stood in the grand hall of the Wellington Hotel in London, surrounded by the world's elite chess players. The opening reception for the tournament buzzed with multiple languages, chess enthusiasts from dozens of countries mingling before the competition began. Professor Chen, a tournament official, approached. "We're so pleased to have you join us. Grandmaster Petrov speaks very highly of your abilities." "Thank you," May said, fighting the urge to look at the floor as she had so often done in social situations. "Your first match is tomorrow at 10 a.m., table 12. He handed her a packet of information. "Best of luck." As the official moved away, May felt a presence beside her, the mysterious phoenix rising in the flesh at last. A tall woman with short gray hair extended her hand. "Grandmaster Huang from Taiwan. I've lost to you online 7 times. 8, actually," came another voice as a younger man joined them. "Though I managed to draw once. Grandmaster Nasser from Egypt." Soon May found herself surrounded by top players, all familiar with her online persona, all curious about the woman behind the screen name. To her surprise, she was able to carry on conversations without her usual awkwardness. They spoke the common language of chess, and in that language, May was fluent. Across the room, she caught sight of Petrov watching her with an approving smile. He raised his glass in a small toast when their eyes met. Later, as the reception wound down, Petrov approached her on the terrace where she had stepped out for fresh air. "Nervous about tomorrow?" he asked, joining her at the railing. "Terrified," she admitted. "Good. The day you stop feeling nervous before a big match is the day you should retire." He turned to face her. "But you're ready, May. You've always been ready." "What if I freeze up? What if I can't think clearly with everyone watching?" Petrov shook his head. "When you sit at the board, the world disappears. I saw it happen during our match. Once you made the 3rd move, you weren't in an auditorium anymore. You were in the game." May considered this. It was true. Once the game had begun, her anxiety had faded into the background. The chessboard had become her entire world. "Besides," Petrov continued with a mischievous smile, "you've already beaten me in front of hundreds of people. After that, what is there to fear?" They both laughed, and May felt the tension in her shoulders ease. "Thank you," she said. "Not just for tonight, for everything. Your support, your advice, I wouldn't be here without it." "No." Petrov shook his head firmly. "You would have found your way eventually. Your talent is too great to remain hidden forever." He paused. "Though I'm glad our paths crossed when they did." The next morning, May walked into the tournament hall, her new chess set in its box tucked under her arm. The room was already filled with players and spectators, cameras set up to broadcast the top matches online. Table 12 was in the middle section. Her opponent, a stern-looking Norwegian Grandmaster, was already seated. He gave her a curt nod as she sat down. "Professor Chen," the referee said. "You'll play white." May set up her pieces, Petrov's gift, with steady hands. Around her, other matches were beginning, the hall settling into the hushed concentration of high-level chess. As she made her opening move, pawn to d4, the queen's gambit, a strange calm washed over her. All the noise, all the people, all the pressure seemed to fade away, until there was nothing but the 64 squares before her. This, she realized, was where she belonged. Not hiding behind a screen name, not avoiding her gift out of fear, here facing challenges directly, playing the game she loved. 3 hours later, May checkmated her opponent with a subtle bishop sacrifice that had set up a devastating rook invasion. The Norwegian tipped his king in resignation, offering his hand with new respect in his eyes. "Beautiful play," he said simply. As May emerged from the intense focus of the game, she became aware of a small crowd that had gathered around their table. Among them were Raj and several other familiar faces from the university, beaming with pride, and there was Petrov, nodding with satisfaction. "The first of many victories, I think," he said as she joined him. "One game at a time," she replied, but couldn't help smiling. That evening, chess websites buzzed with analysis of her game. Phoenix rising soars. Chen makes stunning tournament. Debut read one headline, but more meaningful to May was a simple email from one of her students back home. Watching you play today showed me that being quiet doesn't mean being weak. Thank you for that lesson, Professor. In the days that followed, May continued to advance through the tournament, defeating opponents with her distinctive style, quiet, methodical with flashes of tactical brilliance. She didn't win every game, but she earned the respect of the chess elite. By the final day, she had secured third place, an extraordinary achievement for a tournament debut. As she accepted her bronze medal at the closing ceremony, cameras flashing around her, May thought about the journey of the past 6 months, from a shy professor who could barely look people in the eye, to standing on a stage accepting applause for her chess brilliance. She hadn't become a different person. She was still quiet, still thoughtful, still more comfortable with numbers and chess pieces than with crowds. But she had learned that those qualities weren't weaknesses to be hidden. They were simply part of who she was. Later, as players and officials mingled at the closing reception, a young girl approached May with a chess magazine and a pen. "Excuse me, Professor Chen, could you sign this? I want to be like you someday." May looked at the girl, perhaps 12 years old, with the same shy hesitance that May recognized from her own childhood. "You want to be a chess player?" May asked, signing the magazine. The girl shook her head. "I want to be brave like you, to do the things that scare me anyway." May handed back the magazine, suddenly understanding the true victory of the past 6 months. It wasn't the matches she'd won or the recognition she'd earned. It was finding the courage to be herself without apology or disguise. The secret, May told the girl, is that everyone is scared sometimes. Bravery isn't about not feeling fear. It's about not letting fear make your decisions for you. As the girl walked away, Petrov appeared at May's side. "Well said, Professor," he remarked. "Perhaps that should be the title of your book." "My book?" "The one you're going to write someday. Chess and Life, Courage on and Off the Board by Grandmaster May Chen." He grinned. "I'd read it." "Grandmaster?" May laughed. "I'm not there yet. A technicality," Petrov waved dismissively. "You will be. And when you are, remember who predicted it first." As they walked through the elegant hotel lobby, May felt a profound sense of peace. The path ahead would have challenges, more tournaments, more attention, balancing her academic career with her chess pursuits. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of the journey. The shy woman had found her voice not by becoming someone else, but by finally embracing who she had always been.